I'm Vanessa MacDonald on behalf of Finance Malta. I have with me a panel to discuss wealth management in Malta. I've got here Ian Casingena, who's the Head of Private Clients at HSBC Bank Malta, David Tonna, the CEO of a Maltese law firm, Mamo TCV, and Karl, who is the Manager from the Transaction Advisory Services of Ernst & Young. We were talking about why Malta has managed to grow its financial services by about 30% since 2010 alone, which is quite a remarkable amount. And I'd like to ask Karl, who has joined us for the second part of this podcast, to explain to us a little bit more about this. We said in the first part that Malta has bipartisan support, but bipartisan support surely wouldn't be enough. You have to think ahead and know what the market is requiring so that you can come up with innovative products. Can you perhaps guide me through some of these products? Do we go for niche products, or do we go for try and compete with other people on their own turf?
Practically, there is no as such a competition between one jurisdiction and another. But obviously, the MFSA, the Malta Financial Services Authority, mainly focuses and takes like hints from other jurisdictions, such as big jurisdictions and established jurisdictions, such as Luxembourg and Ireland. For example, if we see the professional investor funds here in Malta, which is currently the most successful.
Yes, in fact, 163 out of 179 collective investment schemes.
For example, the UCITS schemes and the retail non-UCITS schemes. Professional investor funds are very similar to, for example, the qualifying investment funds and the SIFs in Luxembourg. So the Malta Financial Services Authority tries to innovate these type of investment funds. For example, issuing new legislation such as the incorporated cell companies, which is, I think, in the European Union, it's the only country having this type of legislation. Also the recognized incorporated cell companies. So yes, the Maltese regulator does try and innovate these type of investment funds to try and attract the investors and companies to invest here in Malta.
We've been really praised for our trustee laws. Why?
I mean, it's unique. It's a hybrid between our civil code, which is, I mean, the general type of law you find in mainland Europe, and common law, which you find in jurisdictions like the UK or the Channel Islands or the US. And actually this makes Malta unique, because it is one of the few jurisdictions where actually within a civil law framework you can actually incorporate a trust. And trusts are very advantageous for individuals who want to plan for their futures, who want to leave a legacy for within their family. And there's another advantage as well, and that is that you have the resources in Malta and you have the skills in Malta to run and manage trusts and very capable trustees. But the cost base of operating a trust in Malta, it is much cheaper than what you would find in other jurisdictions in Europe and outside.
I think this doesn't just apply to trusts, it applies across the financial services
sector
in Malta. The costs
so.
for accounting and legal auditing, all of these things are actually very competitive.
It is.
An interesting point about, I think, the success story of trusts is that Malta, for a period of practically 200 years, has also had the Institute of Foundations, which has been in existence here. And we have had the benefit of gaining experience in the management and administration of foundations per se. Foundations exist not only as a legal concept in Malta, but also abroad. There are a number of clients who are opting as well to set up foundations as in contrast with trusts. But I think that we had the advantage of building on a legislation which was tried and tested, which was the Jersey Trusts Law, which we assimilated into our Maltese, eventually into our Maltese domestic legislation. So we have the benefit of gaining also the wealth of opinions, of textbooks, of legal knowledge, and as well our courts can avail themselves of a host of judgments which exist already in terms of in the event that any disputes should arise in Malta vis-à-vis a Maltese trust, then there is also the benefit of being able to fall back on the wealth of experience in the United Kingdom, in the UK courts, or courts which have followed the UK system. So this as well translates, I think, into success.
It's an interesting point you raise about the legal system, because I'm sure that investors are not only worried about the actual financial protection they require, but also the legal protection. Do we have enough?
Yes, it's a major issue for people who are opting to move an operation or to set up ex novo operations, in a country like Malta. It is the reliability of the judicial system, of the legal system which is in existence, and the reliability of the judicial system in implementing those laws, which are the foundation for the development of the industry. They are of maximum importance in the development of such a sector. Malta has proved itself, successful in generating trust and efficiency even on that front. So as well, this has strengthened and reinforced, the success, I think, or the will of people to move their operations here.
What I would like to add as well is that obviously Malta is fully compliant to EU legislation, which is very stringent, and it is evolving more nowadays. I mean, we have MiFID II coming into place, we have Basel III regulation, which is coming in place very soon. We have in the insurance industry as well, further legislation there. And then there is a lot of protection also for the investor. There is a government-backed depositor scheme.
And in fact, the banking sector, you come from HSBC, the banking sector in Malta has done remarkably well. The two main local banks are still profitable. We meet capital and liquidity ratios. Bank of Valletta recently, which was the bank chosen for the EU stress test, passed, I think, extremely well.
It was 15th best.
Yes, and we're ranked as the 15th best bank. Malta was ranked so well. So when other jurisdictions write about Malta and they scoff that the only reason other people come here is because of the fiscal incentives, I'm sure that isn't true.
No, there are opportunities which Malta has had a long-term view about. I think, for example, to add on to what my colleague is saying here, that, for example, in the fund sector, Europe has introduced the AIFMD directive, which is going to become operational, and Europe has until 2015 basically to introduce entirely, on a European-wide basis. This is going to translate into funds moving from outside the European Union within European Union locations, Malta included, because these funds have to be managed within the environment where they are set up. The European Union has decided to, tighten the grip on where these funds are administered and managed from. They are going to necessitate that funds set up in Europe are going to be managed and administered in Europe. So that means that's prospect of more business for us. Same thing in pensions, for example. We had, prepared ourselves for the adoption of the QROPS, regulation. It has already translated itself in a move from jurisdictions like Guernsey of a number of pension funds which are setting up here. And this definitely at the end of the financial year is going to translate in further growth in the sector.
Well, as I said at the beginning, a very exciting time for the jurisdiction of Malta. Thank you for listening.